Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. We got another game recap, college basketball. Butler playing host to number 17 Creighton and losing in a pretty bad blowout. But without further ado, let's run it. Butler was looking for a season sweep against a fierce Big East opponent to keep their momentum rolling as we get deeper into February. On the other side, Creighton entered Indianapolis with the mindset that the loss they suffered earlier this month was nothing more than a fluke. With a fierce second half, Creighton ran away with the game as Butler was pretty soundly blown out. Going through some of the top performers of the game, starting with Butler's Jalen Thomas, who scored a high for them with 18 points on 7 for 11 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 5 boards. Posh Alexander had another productive day with 13 points, 6 for 11 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3 point, and he had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal to go along with it. But the real star of the game was Creighton's Baylor Shireman with another double-double, 27 points, 10 of 14 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 10 boards with 3 assists and a steal as well. Ryan Kalkbrenner also had a big scoring night with 21 points, 8 of 14 from the field. He was deadly from 3 as well, despite being Creighton's big, 3 for 6 from beyond the arc, with 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. Some honorable mentions on Butler's side. Finley Bizjack off the bench. Even though he didn't score that much, he only scored 5 points. He was 2 for 4 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3 point. He provided a lot more than that with 4 boards, an assist, and a steal. And Trey Alexander gets the honorable mention for Creighton with 15 points. He was 7 for 15 from the field with 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. So, how did this game get to where it is? Because a 22-point loss at home isn't great by any metric. And Creighton clearly came in looking for a different outcome. They lost earlier this month at home, 99-98. You can go watch that recap if you haven't already. So Creighton was pretty pissed off and they were looking for revenge. They made it a point of emphasis to control the game the whole way, and they did. Although in the first half, it was pretty close. Butler came out swinging. They came out with that same intensity that they have been over the last few games, and they built an 8-point lead midway through the first half. But Creighton chipped away, came back, and by halftime, Butler's lead was only 1 point. Leading 35-34 at home against number 17 team in the country isn't that bad. But then the second half happened. I don't know what in the world Greg McDermott said to his guys at halftime, but they woke up. They completely dominated the second half. The second half score, Creighton had 45 and Butler had 22. Creighton doubled Butler's second half score, and they absolutely killed us on both sides of the ball. On offense, on defense, it seemed like Creighton got hot. They ran the floor well. They hit all their shots, and Butler just couldn't hit anything. So, what a drastic change from halves and what turned into a pretty embarrassing home loss and really a blown chance to add to that resume as Butler pushes towards the NCAA tournament. This was a great chance to notch another win, have a sweep against a ranked team, and that absolutely did not happen. So, some key points for Butler falling apart in the second half. This is the tale of two halves. They went on a tear. They kept that great play up through the first half, and then something happened at halftime. They got complacent and they came out flat, and then the wheels completely fell apart. You can't fall asleep at the wheel, especially when you're in control against a team like Creighton, because they're going to absolutely jump on you. To further prove how bad that second half was, from the final 5 minutes and 39 seconds on, they didn't score a single point. You can't have that kind of turnaround, especially if you're looking to be a legitimate NCAA team and get an at-large bid. The scores disappearing was a huge part of that. Butler only shot 40% from the field, and some of the difficult shots that they got at Omaha, where DJ Davis was making some threes off the move, or Bowden Capke on like the pick and pop or what have you, none of those shots fell. And a big part of that was due to Creighton's defense absolutely stopping and shutting down the trio of DJ Davis, Pierre Brooks, and Jamil Telfort, who combined for 18 points between the three of them. 8 for 31 from the field, which is 26%, which is absolutely awful. For a little bit more context, when Butler won on the road in that high scoring affair, those three put up 62 combined. That difference was an absolute game changer. You have to give credit to Creighton defensively. They had that game plan. We're going to shut down their big scorers, and they were absolutely locked up. On the bright side, it was kind of nice to see Jalen Thomas make a few threes. But when your big man needs to pick up the slack because the other guys, the guys that you depend on a regular basis, can't quite get it going, then you're in trouble. And overall, this loss really, really hurts. After gaining momentum and firmly entering into the field of 68, this loss was a huge blow because Butler fell nearly 10 spots in both KenPom and the net rankings. They were up near that 45 rank. They down now at 55. The bid isn't totally dead. Butler does have some really good road wins at Marquette and Creighton and no egregious losses. Losing at 22 at home to Creighton isn't great, but Creighton is a really, really good basketball team. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But whatever tailspin that they found themselves in, they need to get out of them fast because if they pile up losses, they could kiss the NCAA tournament goodbye, and that is not what you want. On the other side, for Creighton, they did an awesome job at setting the pace. Creighton is an incredibly talented team. We all know this. And if you let them set the pace and control the game, they are incredibly tough to beat, and they did exactly that, especially in the second half. They made some adjustments where they decided, hey, we're going to turn the pace up. We're going to go up tempo. We're going to run fast, and Butler absolutely couldn't keep up. You see in the margin of the fast break points, Creighton had 22, Butler only had 2. And when Butler couldn't hit their shots, even those like wide open misses that just weren't falling, the rebounds allowed the Jays to run the floor and get buckets in transition. They found their outlet passes, and you had one or two guys back beating the defense and getting easy buckets. The engine that made it all work, Baylor Shireman. He's one of the Big East best, and he proved it once again with another stellar performance. This double-double in this game was his 6th straight, which is Creighton's longest double-double streak in decades. He has 12 on the season, which leads the Big East. So that just proves how deadly Baylor Shireman not just is on offense, but also defense. He can score the rock and grab the boards. And he headlines a group of Creighton guards, and Ryan Kalkbrenner, of course, that just absolutely had a field day. Not just in the first half, because the first half was pretty good for them, but the second half when they really proved that we are that team. We can play with anybody in the country, and I think they proved that because this is an absolute statement win. This is probably the best half of basketball that Creighton has played all season, and they completely dominated. Creighton is now on a 3-game win streak, and they're having lots of momentum as they try to crack the top 16 teams. They're right on the bubble into those top 4 seeds, and they're knocking on the door. And these next few games are going to prove if they can get in. Next up on the schedule for Butler, they travel to Philadelphia to play Villanova. That game is on Tuesday. The tough loss to Creighton knocked them down a bit, so a quad 1 opportunity at Villanova is a huge bounce back opportunity. With only 5 games to go, every game counts. And for Creighton, their next game is against number 1 UConn at home on Tuesday. After a big statement win against the Dogs, can the Jays keep the momentum rolling? Because anytime you knock off number 1, that goes a long, long, long way. But that's all I got for this recap. If you want to watch more Butler recaps, I've been covering all the Butler games from this month onwards. If you want to watch Purdue basketball, Tim has that covered with all Purdue games. He's also running through the entire Big Ten with Boom Buster Believable. And if you want us to talk about anything else in the world of college basketball, let us know as we head towards March. It's a super fun time, and we can't wait. But until next time, I'm out.